Every pro was once an amateur, and every expert was once a beginner. Welcome to the DYA Network, where we're on a mission to bring you essential resources and cutting-edge information to help young athletes attain their maximum potential while developing the champion within. I'm your host, David Edwards, and welcome to the network. Hello, everyone, and yes, welcome to the DYA Developing Young Athletes Network that we call Network Nation, and welcome to our Athletes Tip of the Week Friday. Now, today's Tip of the Week Friday, I mentioned in previous episode that I was going to touch base on a tip for training at home that we can do. This is something that I think exercise that is underutilized by a lot of young athletes, even at high levels. We don't do this enough, and I call this one of those primal movements, easy exercises that we all should be able to do, but we don't see it a lot in areas where it's done right, because this exercise, it targets the arms, the chest, the back, and core. And this, like I said, is zero equipment, and that's the push-up. But here's the thing about the push-up. I've seen on social media, I've even seen pictures with the form of the push-up that is being done incorrectly. And if it's being done incorrectly at a young age, you might not notice some things that could potentially harm you as far as an injury long term, but you're also not getting the full benefit of what the exercise is for. And that's what I want to go over today, is the push-up. And I'm going to tell you, I saw this was on Instagram. I was looking at a company that was promoting, or an individual, not knocking the individual, but the thing was, they were doing a push-up and their arm positioning was wrong. And this is just not me. You can research the things that I'm giving you here today. And the thing is, if the arm position is wrong, you can put a lot of stress on the shoulder, which is real critical long-term with chronic conditions that can occur with one area of the shoulder is the rotator cuff. So that's what I want to go over to today, is touching base with you on a push-up. I got a little surprise at the end of this on a progression level that you can do for push-ups, especially you younger athletes and parents. You too can get involved with this. There's no excuse. I've seen in therapy, working with rehabilitation with people that were in their 70s and 80s doing some of these things that I'm about to recommend. So parents, let's get involved and have some fun with our kids at home. I do these things with my daughter, that she's home with us also in quarantine. So this is the tip for the weekend. Let's try a push-up. So here it is. So the thing about a push-up is this, is that when doing a push-up, I want you to think of a plank, and your body should look as if it's levitating as one piece off of the ground. You should have a straight line from your shoulders to your ankle. And if I could draw a line in a picture, that's what you should see. Now, this is what I recommend with this too. Videotape it. Tape the before and the after as you do these and progress along, like I mentioned before. But here's the thing. The hips shouldn't sag, or as I say, the butt shouldn't lift. You shouldn't have that V or that V form, or you shouldn't have that arc also that you create like a little TP or a little pyramid at the top of that peak when you're doing a push-up. And sometimes you see an athlete as they're going up and down through the arms, and you'll see they'll sag, and they're not doing that full range of motion. At that point, stop. In engineering, we call it garbage in, garbage out. It's not being beneficial for you. So just stop the exercise. There's some things you need to adjust. Now, here's some things that can affect that. A lot of people sometimes think, well, if there's that sag there's some core stability issues. Well, sometimes it's in the shoulder, because what the shoulder does is that the next time you do it, if this has been a problem, I want you to look at protracting the scapula. Now, for those who don't know, many of you do, the scapula, if you look from behind, if you're standing parents with a young athlete, you can look in the mirror. There's those two flat bones in the back of your body. It's the rhomboids and the mid-traps. They run, if I could look at strings across, they help to retract the scapula blade. So if you put your hands in the middle of your shoulder and you're standing, you can try this in the mirror at home too, parents. You can get behind your young athlete, and you can put your hands there. I want you to take and bring those scapular blades, and you can see them, and touch the hand. In other words, if I have my hand in the center of the back, in that mid-thoracic region where you can see it, I want you to retract those scapular blades there. Now, when you do that, what happens anteriorly in the chest area, what do? We have a tendency to go into an extension pattern, and we create that arch, that sag. And what we want to do is have a stable platform through the shoulders in order to be stable through that movement with our upper body through the shoulders. So what you want to do, instead of retracting, you want to protract. So you're going to take those scapular blades and you're going to round off into the shoulders with it in order to make that stable foundation when you're going into that push-up position. And I didn't come up with this. This is a great analogy of it that a person said that I heard is, think of a strong tabletop. It needs sturdy legs and supporters, or else it's a junky table. Now, think of us in that stable position with a plank. We have that straight line between our shoulders to our ankles, but then at our shoulders with the movement with flexion extension through the elbow, guess what? We don't have the table legs, which is that we're creating through the shoulder. So we want to look at how do we stabilize that. So what I want you to do with the push-ups is work on protracting the scapula to create that stable surface through the shoulders. Now, the head position should be in a neutral. I always say, if I'm sitting in a neutral position, I'm looking over the horizon. Now, if I just transition into a push-up position or a plank, my eyes should be looking at the ground. And you can go, some say 2 to 3 feet. You're looking above the horizon on the ground. I always say in that neutral position so that you don't get that flexion through the neck, where you see some young athletes, they're doing a push-up and they have their heads extended or flexed back. And what they're doing is they're looking up. And you should really be looking at the ground when you're doing this. And your hands are slightly outside your shoulders, approximately at chest level. Now, here's the thing that I was talking about what I saw on social media. So the person's arms were flared in what I call a T position. So if you're standing over the individual, you can look, and if I went from elbow to their shoulder across, I can create with the body from the head down a T. So if you were to draw a line across and down the center of the spine from the head, from elbow to elbow, you can create a T. That form is wrong. Stop. This is where you run into an issue where you can have shoulder impingement affecting the rotator cuff and other complications that can happen, because the rotator cuffs are those 4 muscles I'll talk about in other episodes you'll know to help stabilize the shoulder. And the worst thing to have is some kind of rotator cuff related injury, because it's a tough rehabilitation, and anyone that's had any kind of rotator cuff tears or has surgery, and you know what you're dealing with. So for the young athletes, it's better we start off right so you don't have those long-term chronic conditions that can affect the shoulder. Now, what shoulder position you should be at? Approximately 45 degrees. And what I mean by 45 degrees is the angle of your arm, you're bringing your elbow towards the body. So if you're up at that 90 degree from armpit to elbow, you're creating that L position. I want you to bring that in about 45 degrees. And it doesn't have to be exactly 45, but you want to bring the elbows closer to the body to take that pressure out of the shoulder. Because again, you're bringing that glenohumeral, you're bringing the head of that humerus up close in the shoulder. And what you can cause an impingement in one area, one muscle of the actual rotator cuff is a supraspinatus that sometimes is impinged in that area. And over time, you can get micro tears and create problems that can cause havoc on any kind of exercise. And we don't want that to happen. So it's better now at a young age that we look at appropriate type of technique so that it can be done right, and it affects us from the degree of improvement with performance. So again, I want to reiterate this. I've seen all different levels of athletes and non-athletes in gyms from everywhere I've been, and athletes I work with, where I've said this before, a young man or woman, I've seen people in the gym doing this with other individuals, and you can't go up and talk to everyone. And they're just cranking them out. And what they're doing, they're just dropping the hips, or they're partially going down, and the form is wrong. I say right then, stop. I would rather you do one right than do 20 or 30 wrong, because it's garbage. I'm going to be honest with you. It's garbage. What are you doing? What is it for? Remember I said the what, the when, and the why? You got to ask yourself what you're doing, when you should be doing, and why are you doing it? This is where those 3 W's come into place. I'm going to give you guys a challenge. Here's it is. I've done this before. This is something that I found has been helpful if you can't do a regular push-up. Sometimes you hear say, well, you can do push-ups off of the knees. Well, okay, you can. But I like this as well, because you can start from a wall push-up, about a 45-degree angle, taking your feet away from the wall. And I always tell everyone to do this. Can you do 5 to 10? 5 to 10 reps. And you get up to 10, and it's easy. But remember this, through the range of motion, the technique is the same. And you're going fluid. It's not a ballistic pattern where you're dropping down and you're pushing up fast. How well can you control it? And this is where I'm at with parents, too, that might not be able to do a push-up. Because my family, we've done it. My daughters do push-ups. Well, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. But the thing is that it started where crawling before walking. The technique moving through this range. And even today, when fatigue kicks in, still things I have to cue with athletes. And so the thing is once you get to a point there, I say go from that to now trying it off of a counter. Can you do 5 to 10 reps? Can you get up to 3 sets of 10? This is what I like to add on. I like isometrics. I like an isometric hold because what happens is it's through that range. So if I'm doing a push-up and my arms are totally extended and I'm off the countertop, as I descend, I'm going what's called eccentric control, where the muscle, and if you look at eccentric and concentric, I'll talk about this a little bit, won't get too deep into it. So when you're dealing with an eccentric, the muscle is elongating. You're going to descend. For example, a bicep curl. The bicep curl concentric is when I'm flexing the elbow. But guess what happens when I'm descending? Gravitational pull is still taking place. That bicep is still firing, but now what's happening? Eccentrically, I'm slowing that load going down. Now, isometric, when I stop that curl, that position. So if I'm lowering that weight and I come to a 90-degree angle at the elbow with a bicep curl with a dumbbell, I'm holding in that position. Guess what's happening? The joint is not moving, but the muscle is still firing, because if the bicep doesn't flex, guess what happens? That gravitational pull, and guess what? One thing will beat us. We always hear taxes that, one thing we'll always have through life, but I don't care who you are. I don't care how strong and fast you are. I don't care how athletic you are. Gravity wins all the time. The older we get, the more gravity takes a toll on us. And in this situation, gravity's pulling us, to the ground. And so with that weight, we're controlling that. Now, with the push-up, what I want you to do is as you're coming down with that countertop, you're coming down eccentric control, and you're getting to that mid position. Now you're going to hold it. You're going to stop in that position. Isometric load, just like you're doing a plank. Now I want you to have, after a set of, let's say you're doing 3 sets of 5 or 3 sets of 10. At the end of each set, I want you to hold it for that set amount. So in other words, that rep amount. So in other words, if you're in that position for rep of 5, you're going to hold it for 5 seconds. So if I'm doing 3 sets of 10 at the end of each set, each rep, I'm going to hold it for that count. So if I'm on set 2 of 10, I'm going to hold it for 10 seconds. Then I'm going to recover. Then I'm going to go another. A cover can be anywhere from a minute, minute and a half to 2 minutes, even 3 minutes. But you want to progress it down where you're going a minute to a minute and a half between sets. Now, once you got to that point, now let's try going to a flat push-up where we're off the ground. The key to this is this. I don't care how many you can do in the beginning. If it's 2, that's fine. How many sets of 2 can you do? Can you do 2 sets? Can you do 3 sets? Your recovery, 2 to 3 minutes, and we'll build off of that. Once you can get up to sets of 10, we can keep building off of that. And I always like to go with 3 sets. 3 sets and building the number off of it. You can do 3 sets of 10 push-ups. Once you can fluidly go to that, you can add those isometric holds. But what I want you to do is control the range of motion throughout the push-up. And when you're coming down an inch or 2. Everyone says around an inch. I always like between an inch or 2, because you're also, like I said, you're going at eccentric control, and even try isometrics throughout the range. I like the isometrics throughout the range because the thing is that as we move through range of motion, we want to have control through that range. And what I find, even lifting today where I've had injuries, especially with lower body with doing squats, or if I'm doing goblet squats, or even if I'm doing regular squats, back squats, or bench press, incline, whatever it is, I'll add that concentric to eccentric with isometric through various points of that range of motion. Here's the thing. I might go deep to that 1 inch with a push-up too. Now I'm going to hold it there. Okay, now I'm going up to that mid position. So hopefully this makes sense. Now through that range, I'm controlling that movement pattern, right? So what happens is you see people doing certain exercises, and they'll, for example, for a push-up, they're pushing up fast and they're dropping down. They're pushing up fast, they're dropping down. They don't have control through that movement. What I want you to remember through this process is that you want to be able to control yourself through that range of motion. I would rather have strength through the range than to go through a ballistic pattern of push-ups. And as you get stronger, get creative with it. So parents, try this at home. Again, movement should be through a full range of motion, elbow extension at the top, and coming down an inch or 2 off the floor. Everybody, try this at home, and feel free. Give me some feedback on how it's going. See it where you are. Keep track of this. Good 2-3 times a week. You can give yourself that recovery, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 24-hour recovery between. I think this is a fun activity that you can get involved with the family and learn how to do it appropriately. So everyone, that concludes today's episode. As I mentioned last week, the next 2 Mondays, what I'm doing is, since we're now, as we go through this pandemic, we're all at home. We're seeing it more. I've seen more people out of different industries. I've seen companies. I'm seeing actors and athletes, a lot of things people are doing that are doing great things to connect to other people. And that's what we want to do too. Give things that can keep the athlete and keep the families involved. This, I think, is a great activity. Put it out there. Let us know how you're doing. Reach out to us at the dyanetwork.org. Let us know how it's coming along with this exercise. And remember, as they say, well, Rome wasn't built in a day. If you ever heard me, needle point improvement, one step at a time. Parents, let's get out there and do it. I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody. Shoot us an email off of our website, visit our social media pages. And the thing with this, too, no matter how young the athlete is, it doesn't matter. I mean, if they're real young, let them have fun through the movement. If they're doing it wrong in the beginning, that's okay. I mean, if they're 7, 8 years old, I'm not too concerned with critiquing it to the highest degree. Let them have fun, kind of cue them in a little bit with the arms at the time, kind of let you be that mirror image for them. Let them see what you're doing, and they'll start to copycat, but make sure, parents, you're doing it right too. So no excuses if you're home with your kids now. So let's get out there, let's do it. And everyone, as I was mentioning on Monday, we're doing the episodes. I wanted to regroup because of everyone at home now with goal setting. So the next following 2 Mondays will be on a goal setting 1 and 2, some throwbacks I had there on some things that we can gather together that can help through this process until we get through it all as a whole globally. And I appreciate everyone from around the world that is listening right now. Let's hang in there, and anything we can do in Network Nation to make it a progress of improvement for everyone, that's what we're here for. So everyone, that concludes today's episode. As always, say, have a phenomenal weekend and take care. Hey, everyone, visit our website at the dyanetwork.org for more information on ways to help the young athlete develop. And if you could do us a favor and leave us a rating or review, and please go out and share this episode, pass it along. We would really appreciate it. Until next time, remember, give 100% in life pursuing your dreams and never give up. Take care.